We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Amud Aleph in Meseches Sukkah. This is Sukkah Daf 50a. Zeiri is in the middle of explaining why, if they would fill the water into a kli for the Nisach HaMayim before Shabbos, why couldn't they use a kli that had Kedusha, that was a kli sharis? And he explains that we're afraid as follows. The imaisi b'vekudeshes, if you're going to put the kli into a holy vessel, so ifsaluhu belina, so it's actually going to automatically become kadosh, because it doesn't matter how much you put in, it's all fit for Nisach HaMayim. And again, Zeiri said that our Mishnah holds that automatically the kli sharis is mekadosh. You don't have to have intention. So therefore what's going to happen is the water is going to get the Kedusha before Shabbos, and you're not supposed to do the Nisach HaMayim until Shabbos. And the problem is overnight it's going to be Pasal Belina, because that's the halacha. Anytime it's Kadosh b'Kedusha Saguf, if it stays overnight, just like any limbs of a carbon, it's going to be Pasal Belina, and therefore you're going to have a problem. Chizkiya says a different answer. Klishares ein mekadsh elamidas. Really, klishares are only mekadesh if you have intention. And so, what's the problem over here? Gezeira shemayom ladas neskach. It's just a gezeira. We're making a decree that maybe people will think that you did have intention to make it kadosh, and therefore they're going to get confused, not realize there's a psul called lina. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Yanai, Amar Rabbi Zeira. Rabbi Yanai says in the name of Rabbi Zeira, Afilu teima ye shir l'mayim. Even if you say that there is a shir for the amount of the water that's used for Nisach HaMayim, uchli sharis ein mekadosh and elamidas. And even if you say that kli sharis are only mekadosh with intention. So here again, it's not going to be an issue because it's not going to be kadosh. Still, ugezeira shemayomru, again, there's a gezeira that maybe people will say, l'kiddush yadayim v'raglayim molin. Maybe people will think that this guy was really filling the water in order to sanctify the hands and the feet of the Kohanim. It did have a Kedusha because it had that intention, and again, people are going to think that there's no such thing as a psul of lina. Rashi over here explains, Chizkiya says, Havadai motzis lemishma minah de'ein shir l'mayim. According to Chizkiya, certainly the Tan of our Mishnah holds there is no shir for the water. Avol kiddush shalom midas lo shamina mina. We can't prove from our Mishnah that the sanctification happens even without intention. But time in the Masechet and the Lomaisi b'mekudeshes, it could be that the reason of the Mishnah that you can't use a holy vessel, demand the chazi l'lamachar, the shakli l'mitoch kli shares, because somebody who sees the next day that they're using it and they're taking the water from a kli shares, savar l'das sheik the person will think that there was intention. And since there is no shear, it doesn't matter how much you put in, even more than 3 lug, even if it was an amount that was more than what people generally think is for Nisach HaMayim, it's not true, because there is no shear l'mayim. You could do any amount for the Nisach HaMayim. V'kachazi, and it's fit for v'kachazi de'menaschilu, it's fit for Nisach HaMayim in any amount. So therefore people will think shvamina ein lina moelos b'nisachim. People are going to think there's no psul of lina. They'll think this was kadosh, and apparently there's no psul of lina because it's being used. But again, it's going to come out of there. People are not going to know what the proper halach is. Rabbi Yanai says, even if you say there is a shear for water, you can understand our Mishnah. And still people are going to get confused. Why? Because people will think that maybe this was actually filled up to be used to sanctify the hands and the feet. It was filled up. The water was to be used for the kohen gadol. The kitchen bekli, and it was sanctified. You're only allowed to wash the hands and the feet of the kohen gadol with holy water. The kiyur has to be similar to the water in the kiyur. The kiyur, the basin which was used for this purpose for all the kohanim, that was officially anointed with the shemen hamishcha. It makes the water holy. That's used for the kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. And even the golden basin that was used for the honor of the kohen gadol. The kohen gadol had a special golden basin that he used to wash his hands and feet. Like we say in Yuma, people are going to say as follows. They're going to think this water was really put in there for Kiddush Yadayim V'raglayim. There is no amount, doesn't matter how much it is, it can be more. And even if it's 100 lug, it's fit for the cleave, and it's scotch when it's holy. And then they're going to see that it's being used for the libation the next day. They're going to say there's no problem, there's no psul of lina when it comes to nesachim, and again, that's going to be the churba, that's going to be the confusion in halacha that's going to emerge. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots, quoting the Mishnah, Nishbechon esgalsa v'chulu. The Mishnah said that if the water spills out, or if it becomes uncovered, so then you cannot use it for the nisach, you can't use it for the libation. The idea is if it becomes uncovered, we're afraid that the poison of a snake got into there. So the Gemara says, Vamai, why can't you just use a strainer to remove the poison? And the Gemara says, let's say our Mishnah is not like Reb Nechemya. Reb Nechemya is the one who says you could just use a strainer. The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, according to Tanakama, the Brisa, if you use a strainer, it's still a problem of Giloy. Amr Reb Nechemia says, no, Emasai, when is that true? Bisman shatachtona megula. That's only true if the lower kli that's receiving it from the strainer, that's uncovered. Aval bisman shatachtona mechusa, but if the lower kli is covered, afal pi shalyona megula, even though the upper one is uncovered, ein ba misham giloy, there is no problem of giloy of being uncovered. Mimnei she'eres nachash doma l'sfug, because the poison of a snake is like a sponge. Tzaf v'yomid b'makomo, it floats, it stays in its place. Meaning, according to Reb Nechemia, it's removable, and therefore, again, you should have been able to use a strainer. So the Gemara says, Afilu Tamer Reb Nechemia. No, you could even say our Mishnah is Reb Nechemia. Amor da'amar Reb Nechemia lehedyot. Maybe Reb Nechemia said that when it comes to using it for a hedyot for a regular person, so a strainer is good enough. Avol legavoa miyamar, but to use it for gavoa, to use it for some kind of a carbon, so to speak, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's going to allow it even in that situation. That's why it's in our Mishnah we said you shouldn't use a strainer, because it's legavoa. But the Gemara says, 1 second, V'lesle Reb Nechemia, does Reb Nechemia not hold, Hakriveu no lefechasecha yirtzucho hayisa fanecha amar Hashem tzavakos? Is this something you would bring to your governor? Would he receive you if you brought it to him? In other words, the pasuk says that which you bring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be something that you bring to a regular person. So on the contrary, if Reb Nechemia would say that it's good to be used for a person, it would be used it would be good to be used for a carbon, and therefore we can in fact infer that our Mishnah is not Reb Nechemia, and a strainer would not be acceptable. Hadron aloch lulav v'arava. We will return to you. Perek lulav v'arava. If you are enjoying these videos and this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. And you can take a look at the description box below to see how you can support this channel. And we begin now the 5th parak of Meseches Sukkah. The Mishnah says, Hachalil, the flute, Chamisha v'shisha. It was played either 5 or 6 days. Again, there are 7 days of Sukkot, but you're certainly not going to play the flute for the Simchas Beis HaShoeva on Yontiv, that's for sure. And if Shabbos does not fall on Yontiv, if Shabbos falls out on one of the days of Chol HaMoed, that's another day you're not going to play the flute, then it's only going to be 5 days. Normally it's 6 days, but again, Shabbos, if Shabbos is not on Yontiv, that's going to eliminate another day, so it's only going to be 5 days. Zeh HaChalil shel Beis HaShoeva. This was the Chalil that was played at the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, of the drawing of the water. As Rashi says, this entire celebration was all because of the Nisach HaMayim, the water libation. She'eino docha lo es HaShabbos v'lo es Yom Tov. The playing of this flute was not docha Shabbos, and it was not docha Yom Tov. That's why some years it would be 6 days, and some years it would only be 5 days. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Amud Beis.